Yet another official in the Trump administration resigned his post suddenly and unexpectedly today after just 2 years. In case anyone hasn't caught on yet, this is not normal. FDA Chief Dr. Scott Gottlieb announced that he would be resigning on Tuesday. "I'm immensely grateful for the opportunity to help lead this wonderful agency, for the support of my colleagues, for the public health goals we advanced together, and the strong support of Azar and Trump. This has been a wonderful journey and parting is very hard. I'm immensely grateful for the opportunity to help lead this wonderful agency, for the support of my colleagues, for the public health goals we advanced together, and the strong support of @Azar and @Real Donald Trump. This has been a wonderful journey and parting is very hard. https://t.co/1zoo9y7ntwr Scott Gottlieb, MD, @Gottlieb for March 5, 2019. Gottlieb focused on issues like teen vaping and opioid addiction. His announced reason for resigning was similar to so many other officials under the Trump administration, who has quit suddenly. He wants to spend more time with his family. Gottlieb, a physician and venture capitalist, was sworn in as FDA Commissioner in May 2017. He previously served as the agency's Deputy Commissioner for Medical and Scientific Affairs. FDA Commissioner Gottlieb, who's fought against the rising teen use of e-cigarettes, has resigned, President Trump says. https://t.co/YALULNLRLB NBC News NBC News, March 5, 2019. Gottlieb was well respected among FDA officials and his resignation came as a surprise, Health Secretary Alex Azar said. Scott's leadership inspired historic results from the FDA team, which delivered record approvals of both innovative treatments and affordable generic drugs, while advancing important policies to confront opioid addiction, tobacco and youth e-cigarette use, chronic disease, and more. The public health of our country is better off for the work Scott and the entire FDA team have done over the last 2 years. The Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, Scott Gottlieb, announced today that he is resigning the position, effective in 1 month. Gottlieb was widely viewed as an effective advocate of public health. https://t.co/erix24gfonpr @NPR, March 5, 2019. Just as Gen. Matter Scott before he spoke out against some of Trump's worst policies. Trump praised Gottlieb in a tweet. That will last as long as Gottlieb never dares to say anything against this thin-skinned president. Scott Gottlieb, who has done an absolutely terrific job as Commissioner of the FDA, plans to leave government service sometime next month. Scott has helped us to lower drug prices, get a record number of generic drugs approved and onto the market, and so many other things. He and his talents will be greatly missed. Scott Gottlieb, who has done an absolutely terrific job as Commissioner of the FDA, plans to leave government service sometime next month. Donald J. Trump, @Real Donald Trump, March 5, 2019. Scott has helped us to lower drug prices, get a record number of generic drugs approved and onto the market, and so many other things. He and his talents will be greatly missed. Donald J. Trump, @Real Donald Trump, March 5, 2019. Featured image via Flickr by Gage Skidmore under a Creative Commons license.
Social media, which was strongly worded and condemned the utter depravity of Trump administration officials, accusing DHS of making war on immigrants and refugees, and called on DHS Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen to resign. Below is the full transcription of the letter. As an author of the Refugee Act of 1980, along with Senator Ted Kennedy, I believe the treatment of refugees by you and President Trump violates that law and our treaty obligations to refugees. The act was adopted against the background of the Holocaust, in which the U.S. took only a tiny handful of refugees from the Nazis, leaving untold numbers to perish at their hands. The act was intended to prevent any repetition of that. It was also passed in response to the massive exodus of boat people from Vietnam. There was a time that the US welcomed refugees. We readily accepted and absorbed more than 600,000 refugees from Cuba, 750,000 refugees from Vietnam, and more than 100,000 Jews from the Soviet Union. Considering that history, the thought that the US government is afraid today of 2,000 children and their parents is both laughable and appalling. Under your administration and that of Donald Trump's, DHS has been transformed into an agency that is making war on immigrants and refugees. The final straw has been the separation of children from their parents at the southwest border. This is child kidnapping, plain and simple. Seizing children from their parents in violation of the constitutional rights of both is bad enough, mentally harmful to the children and infinitely painful to both the parents and children, but doing so without creating proper records to enable family reunification shows utter depravity on the part of the government officials involved. Although it is I who am resigning in protest against these policies, it is you, Nielsen, who should be tendering your resignation instead.
When it became public this week that Donald Trump ordered that Jared Kushner be given the highest national security clearance, it was devastating for both the president and his son-in-law in more ways than one. Trump forced the issue even after White House officials deemed Kushner a security risk to the United States, which makes it seem like he doesn't care about national security. This is not the kind of publicity Trump needed after Michael Cohen's 3 days of testimony and after his North Korean summit fell apart. It also made everyone aware that Kushner is a real national security risk, and he shouldn't be a senior White House advisor in charge of Middle East peace negotiations for the United States. Then last night Kushner found out that his longtime criminal defense attorney, Abbe Lowell, is deserting him, like a rat jumping off a sinking ship. This could not have come at a worse time for Kushner. From the beginning, Lowell claimed that Donald Trump had nothing to do with Kushner's security clearance. But when that was exposed as a lie, Lowell decided to protect himself instead of protecting his client. Lowell made a statement to NBC News last night which tried to clarify that he had been led to believe that Trump wasn't involved in Kushner's clearance. This was tweeted by NBC News national security expert Ken Delanian. New statement from a spokesman for Abbe Lowell: Mr. Lowell was not aware of nor told of any request for or action by the president to be involved in the security clearance process. Again, officials affirmed at the time that the regular process occurred without any pressure. Lowell made the statement because it is an ethical violation for a lawyer to make a false statement of material fact in the course of representing a client. So Lowell has told Kushner and the entire world that he is not willing to go down with the Trump-Kushner ship on this one, which is understandable. More importantly, Lowell is also telling the world that Kushner lied to him. That's not the kind of thing lawyers usually do. It's also the kind of thing that destroys an attorney-client relationship. Now that all of Jared Kushner's past and current actions have come under intense scrutiny, the last thing he needs is to lose the criminal defense attorney who's been handling his case from the beginning. Yesterday, House Oversight Committee Chairman Representative Elijah Cummings, DMD, has demanded that Trump immediately turn over all records related to Jared Kushner's security clearance. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Representative Adam Schiff, DCA, then issued his own statement vowing to investigate how Kushner got his security clearance and Trump's lies about it. Also yesterday, MSNBC's Joe Scarborough expressed his opinion that Kushner and Trump both have sold out the United States to foreign dictators in exchange for their own monetary gain. And as another MSNBC contributor, Malcolm Nance said, Kushner's actions have raised so many red flags with intelligence officials that they did not want him to have any classified information because of the possible threats to national security. Losing his criminal defense lawyer is devastating for Jared Kushner as Jared Kushner comes closer to his inevitable indictment and probable arrest on a multitude of criminal charges. The fact that his lawyer just announced to the world that Kushner has been lying to him is truly devastating. Of course, people like Jared Kushner and Donald Trump can't stop lying. They seem incapable of telling the truth, no matter how much it hurts them. The thing about the truth is this:
it always comes out eventually. And when it does, Jared Kushner and Donald Trump both are likely to find themselves on their way to a very unpleasant place, their own private prison cells.
And welcome to Hannity, and this is a Fox News Alert, and we are broadcasting tonight from the 193rd Special Operations Wing at the Air National Guard Base in Middletown, Pennsylvania, where earlier today, President Trump, he took his message directly to you, the American people, by giving a major speech on his Reagan-esque tax cuts and his tax reform plan. Now, right before that speech, the president joined us for an exclusive interview. We discussed his tax proposal, the fake news media, the NFL's national anthem controversy, the Russia investigation, and so much more. Let's take a look. How are you, Mr. President?
I'm very good. Thank you, Sean.
My second interview since you've been president. You guys want to start with good news? We do have some good news.
Go ahead.
Right? You don't get a lot of good news in the media.
Well, you don't get so much.
The market's up 25% since you won. You tweeted this out that nobody in the media brings it up, so I said, you know what, I'm going to bring it up tonight. $5.2 trillion in wealth created. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 16 years. We have the best labor participation rate in 7 years, and the lowest number of people on food stamps in 7 years.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's going really well. I'm loving it. I'm doing a job for the people, and people are seeing that. And I'm so proud of the $5.2 trillion of increase in the stock market. Now, if you look at the stock market, that's one element, but then we have many other elements. The country, we took it over, it owed $20 trillion. As you know, the last 8 years, they borrowed more than it did in the whole history of our country. So they borrowed more than $10 trillion, right? And yet we picked up $5.2 trillion just in the stock market, possibly picked up the whole thing in terms of the first 9 months in terms of value. So you could say in one sense we're really increasing values, and maybe in a sense we're reducing debt. But we're very honored by it, and we're very, very happy with what's happening on Wall Street.
You came back to Pennsylvania. I know you've been in Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio and North Carolina, because a lot of people still need opportunity and jobs.
Right,
you're really here, you're going to be talking at length about your economic plan.
That's right.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a massive tax cut. And, you know, it's a reform, but it's a massive tax cut. Somehow that's... And, you know, when we first introduced it, and for years they talk about tax reform, I said the problem with the word reform, nobody understands what it means. Because reform could mean you're going to raise taxes. This is the largest tax cut in the history of our country. It is incredible. It's going to put people to work. So right now, Sean, we are the highest taxed nation in the world. And we're going to be now down in the lower rung in terms of taxes. A family can get, and a business can get, especially a subchapter S. You know, you're doing different kinds of things with your businesses. Some people run it individually. But you can get as much as a 40% tax reduction. Again, it's the largest tax reduction in the history of our country.
Let's go through. So, and this is important. I mean, there's no two accountants that can give you the same liability to the government if you give them the same information. That's how complicated the tax code is. You want to drop 7 brackets to 3.
We're going to drop, actually, if you look at it, because we have a 0 bracket, because a lot of people pay 0. So we really have 4, and they had 8. So it's really 8 down to 4. We're cutting it in half. And a lot are taxed below the $12,000 mark and $24,000 mark for a family. They're taxed at 0. After that, it goes to 12% from 15%. And, you know, the Democrats told a very terrible fib. They said that they read the brackets so that the brackets were inverted. And if you read it that way, but that's not the way it goes. And we've been praised for the amount of money, the middle class. This is really what I'm looking for. For the middle class, I call it the working people. And the working people are going to get a massive tax break. And corporations and companies and small companies are going to get large-scale tax relief. And they'll be able to compete with anybody in the world, which is what we need.
You said the corporate rate, which is so important. You said 20% is your max.
So right now we're at 35%, and many corporations are paying 40s and 42, and because they have state taxes and city taxes, and they have taxes so many different directions. You know what they do? They leave the country, and they fire everybody, and they're gone, and they never come back. Now we have companies moving back into the country. We have, you saw last week, auto companies are announcing that they're going to build plants back in the United States. That hasn't happened for years. And they're moving back, and not just because of the tax. This tax is so important, but they're seeing enthusiasm. We have the highest